welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily if you're new here. We are doing the December reading wrap up. I have a new chair because I could not sit on the floor anymore. My elderly knees are not able to do that anymore, so we need to sit in a chair. And we're sitting a little close to the bookshelf here because I'm gonna try and hopefully have the book that I'm talking about right here in the shot, just so I don't have to hold it the entire time. Because I want it to be in the shot. But for the month of December, to end out 2025, I did read 7 books. 6 technically, but one of them is a DNF because I put on my big girl panties and DNF'd a book. And with those, I actually ended the year at my goal of 65 books. So it feels really good to get all that done, to know that I hit my goal. So out of the 7 books I read, they were all romance books, but had different subgenres. We had 4 that were holiday themed. We had 1 that was like paranormal. Is that what wolves are under? Or the Omegaverse? Is that what it is? 1 under there. And then the last 2 were just straight romances. And then 2 of those books were actually a book of 3 novellas. So most of my 2025 did involve romances. It's what I strictly read. And I think if you've seen my past videos, you know that I'm going to be expanding into the magic world. I've actually already started one of my January TBRs that is a magic book, and I'm already loving it. So can't wait to dive into that one with you guys. To get into the first book, we had Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. Hopefully this will stay. Maybe I move you just a little bit. So Loath to Love You is 3 little novellas. We have Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. They're 3 little love stories, and they're all kind of interconnected because the 3 women in each one, they were university friends. They went to university together. No, it was grad school, I think. I even think it was grad school, because we all know Ali Hazelwood does STEM women who work in STEM, and we love that. At least I love that, personal opinion. These were just really cute little novellas. They were supposed to be a part of me attempting to do a read for 24 hours. And I failed. I failed miserably. Not miserably, I laughed at it. The fact that I tried to stay up for 24 hours to read and I only read 3 novellas. We know we're not ever doing that again. So for the first book, Under One Roof, we have our main character, and she ends up inheriting a house from an old teacher that had passed but gave her half of the house, while the other half of the house went to her grandson. And he just strictly wants to buy her out. And she's like, nope, I don't own any property, so I'm gonna stay here. And they end up, you know, not liking each other, and then they learn to love each other, and it's very fast-paced. Obviously it's like a 100-page novella. They all are about 100 pages. The next one, Stuck With You, we have a couple that had hooked up in the past. They both work in the same field but for different companies. He ends up like taking a client away from her because of the eco stuff that she does. She does like eco-friendly for buildings. He takes a client from her. She absolutely hates him for it. They get stuck in an elevator to where they talk about it, and we learn the truth about what exactly happened. And then the third one is an interesting one because she works for NASA. And well, they both work for NASA. She's working on like rovers that would go to Mars, and so to do that you have to go to, it just says, a remote Arctic research facility, and you have to go there to test it because the terrain is apparently what the terrain on Mars is like, which is insane to think about. And she ends up hurting her foot and getting stuck while a storm is going through, like a dangerous storm, and he ends up saving her. There's some backstory with them as well that gets explained. I'm an Ali Hazelwood auto buying. I have a full shelf dedicated to her behind me, and it means I only have 1 more book by her check-in mate that I need to read. That is on my TBR, but this one got knocked off this one. There's a little bit of spice in each book, not a ton, but overall I'd give it like a 4-star. They're novellas. I don't really know how to rate novellas, but this one was really good. I loved the interconnection of all 3 of them, and they were just fun little stories, especially at the end of the 3rd story. You kind of get to see them all get together for the first time in a while, and the boyfriends all come. It's an interesting thing to see them all together in one room. Book 2, Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I've been kind of working through her collection of books. What is it called? Because it's not a discography. Backlog? I've been going through her backlog of books ever since I read Window Shopping last year, and that was my first Tessa Bailey book last year, and so I've been kind of attacking her books this year, and I read a good amount of them, and I'm okay with her writing. I go back and forth on if I like it or not. Sometimes it's a little extreme, sometimes it's whatever. This one, oh wait, where's my phone? I actually I took notes on this book because I was getting so annoyed that I was like, I'm not gonna remember these by the time I do the wrap up, so I need to take notes. So I took notes. Where are you? Where's my notes? There's my notes. Okay, I had some issues. That's why I took notes, because it was just kind of like thrown in your face for a couple things. Oh, I should probably give you a wrap up of what this book is. Haley lives in Napa Valley. She has kind of lived on the road because her mom was a singer, I think, who kind of hopped around bands, and so she didn't really grow up in one place. And then Julian, our MMC, his family owns a winery, but he's actually a professor at a college. I don't know if it was Stanford exactly or if it was just a college, but he comes back home because he's going to write a novel because it's something he's wanted to do for a long time. She, Haley, is a gardener. She inherited her grandmother's gardening business and does gardening for the little town that they live in outside of Napa. They had met once, like 15 years ago. They almost kissed, it was a thing, and then they did it, and then they never saw each other again until now. And she, one night, drunkenly writes a secret admirer letter to him. Doesn't mean to send it, but does. Because she was drunk, and goes to take it the next day but realized he had already grabbed it, and then they end up kind of discussing it. Anyways, to get into my notes, Haley has a best friend who owns a bakery, and she is British. She apparently came over from England. They went way too heavy in the accent on like page 2. The wording, the sentences she said, that it was a little too hard in the beginning, and then it completely went away in the rest of the book. I think there was a part of a chapter that was like deleted because we were at point A, and then like 2 paragraphs later we were at point B with very little explanation in between. And then I put, his dirty talk is trying too hard to be body positive. Now, I don't know if this is my own insecurities. She is a bigger girl in this book, and the words jiggle and shake were used, and it just threw me off. Again, could be my insecurities, I don't know, but I just felt uncomfortable because those were said during scenes. And then I put a chapter number on there because there is a 3rd act breakup in this one, and it's one of those things of like, if they just talked, it would have been fine, but it just like, and you're like, what? And it just, so just one of those really bad miscommunications that I was just like, okay, whatever. Got past it. I was almost done with the book, so I was like, I want to finish it. So I finished it. I think I gave it a 3 star. Honestly, it's probably like a 2.5 at this rate, but it is spicy. I don't know if I'd recommend it. Book number 3, we have Mistletoe Season. This is 3 novellas. We have Say No to Mistletoe by Sheila Roberts, which is about our main character, Haley. She has had the worst luck with mistletoe. Every time she's kissed someone under mistletoe, it's led to a relationship that 6 months later ended horribly, and is just like, nope, we're not doing this again. She's an author from a small town but living in New York City, goes home and spends it with her family, where she runs into somebody that she went to high school with, and that's about as much as I'm going to tell you. There were some LOL parts in this book that I remember. When she goes home, she meets her brother's new girlfriend, who was somebody she went to high school with, and she's like, I'm not for this, and some crazy stuff ensues that's really funny, and you're just like for like 100-page book, it was a fun read, so I do recommend that one. I actually recommend all 3 of these. The second book is Return to Mistletoe by Kathleen Fuller. This one, our main character lives in Mistletoe, Missouri, which I've been meaning to look up to see if that's a real place. Let's see, I've got, oh, I don't think it's a real town, but it says mistletoe grows naturally in southern Missouri's river valleys. Did not know that. She owns an antique shop, and her best friend's brother comes home from Ireland because apparently they have Irish heritage, and he like inherited a family castle, renovated, but left when he graduated high school and hadn't come back in 17 years. So he comes home and a little something happens. The last book in this is The Mistletoe Prince by Pepper Basham. This novella I actually learned is off of one of her other books. It's kind of like a side book. I can't remember the name of it. If I remember it, I'll put it down here. But for this book, the prince of this other country, a made-up one, he went through a breakup like 2 years prior and just has not been doing what he's supposed to be doing as prince for his country. He's not attending things, he's not speaking at things, and he's kind of acting out. And so he said he's going to reform himself. So he goes to live with his sister, who his sister, obviously a princess, has the other book, and she falls in love in North Carolina, I think is where this one is. Yeah, North Carolina. She's like happily married there, and so he goes to live with them for a few months to work, earn a pay, and just kind of, you know, reform himself into who he used to be. And he wants to do that. He's not being forced to do this. He wants to do this. And he meets one of the contractors on the team who is a woman, and they kind of work together to create the annual Christmas fundraiser. And so they work together to do that and work together on construction projects, and romance ensues from there. I definitely think I'm going to be looking at Pepper Basham's backlog because this book was fun. Same with, well, honestly, all three of them. I just remember the Prince one first, and I wanted to read the sister story. Well, all in all, a good one. They are, again, novellas, so they're kind of hard to rate, but I would probably say, I'd probably, again, give it like a 4. I would recommend it for a Christmas read. I love a novella for a holiday read as well, just because sometimes you don't want to dedicate time during the holiday season to large books. So, you go with the smaller ones. The Mating Game, Lana Ferguson. Lana is an automatic buy for me. Tell me why I completely forgot about this book and didn't buy it until like midway through December. This is like a semi follow-up to The Fake Mate, which is my favorite book by her. And oh my god, she does not disappoint. I was giggling my way through this book. I thought it was funny. I loved it. I just love her writing. So we have Tess, who is a contractor. She does like TikToks essentially, where she shows the renovation that she's doing. There is a chance that she could get a TV show for her flips that she does essentially. And she goes to fix up the cabin that's owned by Hunter here. And Hunter is an alpha wolf. She is a beta. She finds out literally in the beginning of the book, it's quite literally page 1, so I'm not ruining anything, that she is an omega, which is like the greatest thing ever for an alpha. And if we all know wolves, they can smell things. And so her being an omega, him being an alpha in a confined cabin hotel thing, what do you think's gonna happen? It's a lot. It's funny. It's spicy. We do have cameos from the first couple, which I loved because I thought those two were smart, because he's actually cousins with the guy in the other one. But this was a good book. It was a 5-star read for me. It's Lana Ferguson. She hasn't disappointed me yet. I just love the banter that she creates and the stories that she creates, and this one is a good one. And yes, I recommend this one. Please read this one. It was good. The Christmas Catch by Tony Shiloh. I DNF'd this on page 9, so please go with that. With what you will. I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood, because it is another novella. It's under 200, and it is about him who is an NFL player and he gets injured, and the prologue starts with his injury, and that got me in, but for some reason the next chapter I just could not get into it. I don't know if it was the writing, I don't know if it was what was being done. There was just something that I was just like, I can't continue. I've never had that feeling before, and so I just listened to my brain and stopped reading it. Will I give it another chance? Maybe next year for the holidays, but for now I did just DNF this one, so I can't really give my full opinion on it other than the fact that I DNF'd it. But I will give it another chance, but again, probably not until next year. Ooh. The Christmas Wager, Holly Cassidy. Loved this book. Last year I read The Christmas Countdown by her and absolutely loved it, so I was like, I have to read this one. We have Bella, who lives in California, works for a major real estate company that essentially is in the process of like buying small businesses and then trying to turn them into big condos, apartment buildings, just to like kind of turn a profit. And Jesse and his grandpa own a holiday shop that used to be really famous in a small town in the Rockies. So she goes there, she's expecting to immediately get stuff signed, and then she was actually going to be up in the running for a promotion in the Denver office. So it's kind of like funny that I read 2 books that were related around Denver in the mountains, since that is where I live. So she throws in this lowball offer. He says, no, you're not buying it for this low. The grandpa says, hey, let's do a wager on this, the Christmas wager, that you guys are going to take part in this holiday games that goes on for like 5 days leading up to Christmas, and if she wins, they get the place for her low ball offer. If he wins, they get the place for the high ball offer, and some craziness ensues. But it is a really good story. I love Holly's writing. At the end of this, I actually learned in the back that Holly Cassidy is actually a pseudonym, for crime author Hannah Mary McKinnon. So she has crime books, and I might dive into her crime books. Haven't decided yet. Trying to kind of do a book buying ban because I've got 115 books on my physical TBR and I don't need more. Especially if I need to try and read half of that this year. But this book was really good. I think I gave it a 4-star, and it could have been a 4.5, but there were times where it was a little confusing because each day, I'll show you, each day started out like that, where it said a certain day. So what would happen is, we're talking about the current time is Saturday, December 18th. But as you're reading from her perspective or his perspective, it would all of a sudden, they'd start talking about a conversation that happened the night prior. So it actually happened on the 17th. And the way that it transitioned into that sometimes wasn't smoothly. And I got confused. I was like, wait, is this conversation happening now? Or did it happen last night? Because if it happened last night, why didn't we just have it in the last night? In the 17th day and not the 18th day. So it was really confusing. But I got through it. Still a really good book. Loved it. There's a little bit of spice in it. Was this one open door? No, it was closed door, where it was, this is happening, end of chapter, next day. But all in all, really good book. Definitely recommend her 2 holiday books. And then, like I said, I'm going to dig into her crime books maybe in this year. It's 2026 already. Alrighty, last but not least, Love You Alaka by Amanda Elliott. 5 stars. I loved this book. This is probably one of my top books from last year, and it was literally the last book I read last year. I loved this story. We have Abby here, who lives in a small town in Vermont. She grew up in New York City, moved because she moved in with her then boyfriend, but they've been broken up for like 8 months now, and she owns a coffee shop. The small town she lives in is kind of declining a little bit. They're not really getting enough tourists in, and they're not really, you know, stabilizing their economy. And so they don't want to see businesses close. So there's this one lady who's like in charge of the community events or whatever, and she decides, hey, we need to throw a Hanukkah festival. Every other town around us throws Christmas festivals, so everyone's going to want to go to those, but we need to have a Hanukkah festival that takes place during Christmas. They put her in charge because she's the only person in town who celebrates Hanukkah. And I will say, the lady who is in charge of the festival, or the lady who put her in charge of the festival, the ignorance of her really did piss me off. They basically were trying to throw a Hanukkah themed Christmas festival where they're like, well, can't you have a tree and just put dreidels on it, or just have blue and white lights instead of every other color? And that stuff started to like really piss me off. So she did a really good job at writing that. She wants some help because she actually hasn't really fully embraced celebrating it, because she did have parents growing up that kind of criticized her, and she doesn't talk to her parents anymore. So she kind of fell out of her Jewish community that she was used to, that she grew up with, and the support that had, because she doesn't talk to her parents anymore. And so she needs some help. She decides to try and find somebody who can help her throw this holiday, and she ends up going on a dating app that is only for Jewish people, and she ends up swiping on Seth. And Seth is this guy who comes into her coffee shop every single day. She finds him irritating. She doesn't understand how he could always be so cheery, so happy, and he's the only one on this app. So they meet, they talk about it, and she says, hey, I'm just trying to find people to create this festival with. And he goes, well, I just need someone to take home to my parents because they want me to bring home somebody who is going to, you know, put them off my back for a little bit, because I'm older, I'm not married yet, I don't have kids. They're like in their 30s. And so they strike up a deal. We're gonna fake date for my parents, and I'll help you with the Hanukkah festival. So she goes to New York City with him to be his fake girlfriend and get in the spirit of having a Hanukkah festival that's an actual Hanukkah festival and not Christmas festival disguised as a Hanukkah festival. I really loved the education you get in this book regarding Hanukkah and the certain foods they have, the story behind Hanukkah, because I will be honest, I've never known it. I knew the oil burn for 8 nights, but I did not know the full story behind it, so that was fun to learn about. And all the food, and the fact that some of this food that she talks about I've actually had before, and the fact that I didn't even know that I've had this food before. And mind you, delicious food. Alaka, get out of town. Those things are amazing. Had them before when I lived in New York City. But the writing in this was good. The storyline was good. The banter was good. I just loved everything about this book, and it made me so excited because I realized that I have 2 other books by her. I have Sadie on a Plate and Best Served Hot by her, and it made me extremely excited to read those books. Honestly, I would say read this whenever. Obviously, you can read it during the holidays, but I would say read it in the next month if you can. This is a really good book. But that is it for my December wrap up. I really wish I had a journal to fill out, because that is something that I plan on doing with my next, well, my 2026 wrap-ups. Is at the end of each one I'll update my journal, I'll update the log, I'll update if I've done any of my bingos, if I've read any of my 26 for 2026, and complete the monthly sections as well. So really wish I could do that right now, but I can't, which is kind of sad. Again, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.